Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today, since it's nearing the end of August and school starting soon, I thought I'd share with you guys my accepted Parsons portfolio. These videos really helped me when I was applying to Parsons, and I hope this can be some sort of help for you guys when creating your portfolios. So a bit of background before we jump in, I actually applied to Parsons last year for the fall to matriculate into the class of 2022. I applied as undecided because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I didn't think I knew enough about a certain major to create pieces that are related to that major. So for instance, if you're applying as a drawing or painting major, it's usually recommended that you submit pieces related to your major. So if you are a graphic design major, then you would submit graphic design pieces. If you've never heard of Parsons, basically it's an art school. It's located in New York City, and it's part of the New School division, which means New School is comprised of multiple colleges and universities. So for example, besides Parsons, New School also has Eugene Lang, which is their liberal arts college. Oh, and by the way, the full name for Parsons is Parsons School of Design. Parsons is probably most known for fashion. A lot of notable fashion designers have come out of Parsons. I found out about Parsons rather late, I would say. The first time I had heard about it was in 10th grade. Prior to that, I had no knowledge of Parsons. I wasn't even really thinking about applying to art schools, but then when I found out about Parsons and I heard the stuff they had to offer, the courses, teachers, the resources, the alumni, etc., I just knew that it was a place that I wanted to apply and to just give a try. So when submitting your Parsons portfolio, they actually also require you to submit a separate assignment called the Parsons Challenge. But for the Parsons Challenge, you're supposed to create a separate piece that's inspired by one of the other pieces in your portfolio, and then you just have to write about how this piece came about and how you were inspired by the other piece. Parsons really cares about not only executing a piece well, but also expressing your thoughts and the process for the piece onto paper. So before we start, be sure to check out my AP Studio Art portfolio. A lot of the pieces in this portfolio are also from that portfolio. So if you watch that video ahead of time, it'll give you some background information on certain pieces that are in this portfolio. So the first piece for my Parsons portfolio is also the first piece of my concentration for AP Studio Art. I painted this with acrylic and I did color pencils for touch-ups. The second piece is also another piece for my concentration for AP Studio Art, but I actually use this as Parsons Challenge piece for my essay for Parsons Challenge. I started off by saying what the central idea of my first piece in the portfolio was, because that was the one that inspired the Parsons Challenge. And then after I stated what the idea of that piece was, I went on to explain how I created the first piece. After that, in a separate paragraph, I explained how this Parsons Challenge piece came about. I'm just reading this now in a really long time, and I actually included some references outside of my pieces that gave me inspiration to these two pieces. Like, I talked about Greek mythology and Sisyphus, because I wanted to describe how I was trying to create a protagonist who was being punished for her action for not caring about nature enough, I guess. And then I also referenced surrealism artists like Salvador Dali, and I talked about David Hockney and his pieces that inspired this piece. Sounds so pretentious reading back. This piece is another piece from my AP Studio Art portfolio, but instead of being from the concentration section, it's from the breadth section. Basically about struggling with addiction and how addiction affects people mentally and physically. The face that's looking at you is trying to communicate that the person they once were is still there, and they're trying to fight this addiction, but then the other face that's looking away is being overpowered by the addiction. It's like they have no control over themselves. And I used the color purple to symbolize bruises, show how damaging an addiction can be. And then the black and white lines that you see in the background is actually a cloth to symbolize metaphorically that the addiction is choking the person. The next piece doesn't really have a deep meaning, rather it was just an experiment for me and like an exploration. I actually drew this after coming back from the exhibition in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is located in New York, New York. I was just so in awe with the way he drew his lines. Something about it just really captivated me, and I wanted to sort of emulate. And I had this idea that I would draw clouds. Yeah, that was how I created this piece. And then this next piece is actually a still life. I feel like if you have any still lifes that you think are worthy, definitely put them into your portfolio. I probably should have put more in, but unfortunately this was one of my only still life pieces that I had that was like up to date. I definitely do more and put them into your portfolio. This piece can also be found in my breath section for my AP Studio Art portfolio. It's just a simple watercolor painting that's inspired by small villages found in Europe. And then to show Parsons that I also had some technical skill, I decided to include this figure drawing, which I would also highly recommend you including in your portfolio. I feel like that's a must-have along with still life for any art portfolio for like any art school and stuff like that. I think this is just a basic and fundamental that you really should have. So I wasn't able to go to any figure drawing classes or sessions. I just found images online. There's a website that is specifically for artists to use for figure drawing. I'll try to include it somewhere on the screen if I find it. If possible, I'd probably recommend including like 3 figure drawings, and I would also draw them differently to show variety. Like maybe for one you use charcoal, and then for the other you do it really quick, and then the third is like really detailed or something. But yeah, I would definitely include variety. And this piece kind of came to me randomly, I think probably through teenage angst. I'm just kidding, but like the title sounds really angsty. This piece really just has no meaning. I think for the information we're supposed to describe the piece, I just related it to teenage angst somehow, but like really had no correlation probably. And yeah, it's just a random idea I had. This is a landscape piece. I'd say it's really different from all of my other pieces. It's definitely more loose and expressive compared to my other pieces. I just wanted to include this to show variety, and also because I kind of liked it. I made this painting during the summer of 2017 before school started because my AP art teacher wanted us to get into the mindset of creating pieces that are supposed to go together for your concentration. So this is one of the 3 pieces, and it's actually supposed to be a self-portrait. How I explained it was that I made this during the process of exploring my ancestral roots as an ABC or an American-born Chinese. And that's why there's like a lamp within this girl and also a forest, because it's like you're finding your way to the light, trying to figure out who you are at the core. That's all for my portfolio. They said to include 9 to 15 pieces, but obviously I met the bare minimum. If I had to go back and create it again, I would have definitely made 15 pieces, more figure studies, more landscape pieces. I would definitely take some of the pieces out from this portfolio and include more finished pieces or pieces with deeper meanings or show more creativity in my technical skill, etc. I think that would have really helped set me apart. I definitely wouldn't have made these pieces last minute. Like I wish I had made these pieces the summer before or like way ahead of time. Kid you not, I was like doing them like the night before, and it was just really bad. I think a lot of these pieces could have been more quality pieces, but also if possible I would go to a portfolio review where these admission officers look at your portfolio just so you can get a better sense of what they're looking for. I think that would be extremely helpful, and also just ask your art teacher for help probably, so you can definitely improve. Despite all that, fortunately I did get a pretty generous merit scholarship, which I actually found out they decide right after looking at your portfolio if they want to give it to you or not, and the amount. So I'm really thankful for that, but I will not be attending Parsons in the fall. I've decided to opt for a traditional university just because I think they'll give me a better experience overall. If you're interested in knowing why, be sure to comment below, and I'll definitely make a video talking about that in the future. But otherwise than that, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you want to, or if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Bye.